So I'm starting to get the itch again, probably just because it's been so long since our last available play session for XDefiant, but I'm itching to get in on the action again. So today, we'll round into the end of the year here and get back into the swing of things after the holiday. I wanted to casually chat with you about the game and what the future may hold, my thoughts on it and more. This is more of an opinion piece, a discussion with you rather than like breaking news, but I wanted to just have a little chat. So as we go along, drop your thoughts down below. What do you think? You looking forward to XDefiant? When do you think it'll drop? Whatever the case, let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, if you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to the video with all things XDefiant and other FPS content here on the channel. I'd love to have you. Finally, this video is brought to you in part by Enlisted, but more on them a little later. For now, let's jump into XDefiant's potential near future. So, not to reiterate too much, but for those that maybe missed our last discussion a little over a week ago, there was actually an update in regards to the targeted timetable of release. Paraphrasing Mark Rubin, he said that the XDefiant team was finishing up the year before holiday, so now on holiday, working on their new party system, a system that was the reason for why they could not launch the game earlier from a technical standpoint. That said, their advances on revisions of netcode and server switches to Linux all were going smoothly and all were basically sorted. The overarching message though was that when back from the holidays, they'll be testing for submission, fixing any last minute bugs, and then getting ready to go live. So it sure seems like early 2024 is that targeted time frame for release now at this point, with those first couple of weeks in the new year being the sort of make or break period. They've already passed submissions in the past this fall when it was anticipated to launch beforehand, so the next round should take less time. The initial submissions is what Mark Rubin described was what takes the most time out of all of it. So realistically, Q1 could be an adequate target for sure. I mean, who knows what kind of marketing buildup they'll want to do. I think bringing as many eyes as possible to the game is always a good thing, but I mean, who knows what they want to do. Free to play on its own will naturally warrant a lot more eyes, a lot more player base because there's no barrier of entry, but we obviously are not in the room here with those marketing decisions and the executive decisions being made on a larger scale. But that begs the question, are we now getting into the prime time again on when we find a sweet spot for release? Of course, I'm sure it absolutely sucks to have missed out on that holiday Q4 period for revenues and earnings. Spending is statistically the highest points of the year at those points. So sure, while XDefiant would not have missed out on initial game sales because free to play, no doubt an increase in player count, an increase in revenue, that would absolutely help them and be beneficial to the company and the studio as a whole. But I've said it before, honestly, I kind of think they probably dodged a bullet there. And now we might have a new sweet spot where it could be a perfect time for them to launch. Previously, people thought we'd end up getting the game in summer, which at that point would have been a great option since there wasn't a whole ton going on in the gaming space, especially though in the FPS space. COD was in the middle of Modern Warfare 2, and at that point, where the seasons weren't offering too much to interact with in regards to new content. Battlefield was in the middle of their seasons, where even though I have fun with Battlefield when I jump back on, between seasons gets pretty stale pretty quickly for them. And so you get the point where a lot of the direct competition really wasn't too big a problem. So the prospect of a new, refreshing shooter mixed with the classic arcade elements, people loved, and that hit the sweet spot for people and when it could have launched. But of course, that didn't happen. Then it became this standoff of will they, won't they, launching it alongside Modern Warfare 3, but now, I mean, the COD cycle is in full effect here. We obviously didn't see it launch alongside Modern Warfare 3, which is definitely nice. You didn't have them competing against each other, but now the COD cycle again is in effect. And listen, I'm still having a good time with the game when I jump on. I've been busy the last few weeks that I haven't had as much time as I'd like to play, but even just like looking at comments, the cycle's back in full swing. It's something that's as true as death and taxes. It's a guarantee that the COD cycle is going to take effect. And honestly, I kind of feel like it's coming a little earlier this year. I don't know if it's that continuation of like the DLC or the expansion wing of things, that argument there where the interest doesn't last as long because how much of the game is actually air quote new or whatever the case. But I mean, the COD cycle is definitely in effect. People have their gripes rightfully with the game. They have things they just want to complain about. They don't like it, whatever the case. But players, I think, would be fine if they had another game of similar interest peaking, coming out. And as we've seen before, XDefiant can fill that gap. A lot of the people here on the channel, big COD fans, were really into the idea of XDefiant coming out in between Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3. Realistically, though, I don't know if January would be the answer in terms of just how practical that could be. The teams get in office late first or second week of January. At that point, it said they still have to finish testing, then submission, then launch. Testing is an undefined period of time. Submission may take only a few weeks based off what Mark Rubin has said before about follow-up submissions. And then launch depends on, again, if you want to market it or you just want to drop it out of nowhere like EA did with Apex a couple of years ago. So best case, let's say the game's ready to submit Monday, January 8th. Let's say best case 2 weeks to get it cleared across the board for the submission process. That takes us to the 22nd. Maybe you'll launch it on the 29th. But again, I don't think we're getting there that quick. And logically speaking too, I feel like if you wait a little bit more, maybe towards the beginning of spring, maybe that's a better move here. Round out Q1, going to Q2 with it, and at that point, I think you'd very much so be at a very low point in competition as well, where you could dominate the FPS market going forward. I mean, at that point, you'd have COD being well into Season 2, nearly Season 3, that launching in April. Battlefield Season 7 will have launched around then, but again, with both those, you have more tail off in terms of seasonal launches rather than full game launches. So late February, early to mid-March, that to me is the sweet spot, and honestly, it's kind of plausible, I think, given that they are ready to get back into the action and submit for one final bit here before releasing the game as early as just getting back from the holiday break. Now, before we jump into what I want to touch on next, which is the potential for another playtest, well, I want to let you know today's video is brought to you in part by Enlisted, a first-person shooter available for free now on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. Enlisted combines PvP and PvE combat, where you can command a squad of AI to fight in massive battles with hundreds of targets, all led by other players, offering up multiple campaigns to play through, which include unique weaponry, vehicles, and equipment. From Moscow in 1941 to Berlin in 1945, there's a ton of expansive battles to encounter. What's cool is that the campaigns of Enlisted are so varied that each can have their own sort of feel to them, sometimes feeling like an entirely different game at a time, and with over 100 weapons, tanks, and aircraft, along with high graphical detail, you'll be able to traverse those times in history and dive deep into the combat head first. I'm a big fan of the customization and the massive amounts that you can end up doing with that, as well as the range of weaponry that I think you'll enjoy as well. So make sure to check out the link in the description below or the pinned comment where you can play Enlisted now for free, zero charge, and with that link provided, you'll get a free bonus pack alongside all that. So check it out, and thanks to Enlisted for sponsoring this video. Okay, so all that's cool and everything, but if we have to wait until maybe end of February, early March, well, is there anything in the meantime that can tide us over? Because that's still a long time. The last play session was months ago now since XDefiant ended up having anything remotely playable, any sort of beta. So to go that long and then not have anything, is there anything that can tide us over? Well, right now, no, but it also seems like there could be something that is in the works here, because Mark Rubin did mention that it's to be determined on any sort of playtest upcoming in the future, which honestly, I'm hopeful though that we see something like this, because in the past, we've had multiple playtests, even with just more minor adjustments to the game. But when you talk about the things that they've done recently, changing entire server systems, changing the netcode adjustments, changing the party systems, that's big things that I think you'd want to get some sort of feedback on and in a live environment before just pushing out to a live launch. I mean, think about it. If any one of those things goes bad, that is a game-breaking issue that would require a lot of adjustments and a lot of fixing and a lot of scrambling, frankly, if the game is already out there live, because you want to get it out there and fixed as soon as possible, because, well, players wouldn't be able to play the game. So considering how much of like fundamental work has been changed here, I would not be surprised if we get some sort of maybe minimal play session, like a weekend open beta or something like that, just to get some sort of feedback to see how much of those systems are working as properly as possible, whatever the case. But again, with how much has been done in the past on a more minor scale by comparison, and seeing playtests to test those things out live in the wild, I wouldn't be surprised if we do end up seeing this happen, and I'd be all for it. I'd be very much so excited to jump in and play again, even ahead of the official launch. But that said, that is where we're at here. That's where my overall thoughts are on like the sweet spot for XDefiant is, and if we may end up seeing anything in the near future happen in terms of a playable test. I'm hoping so, but again, nothing has been officially confirmed. But that said, that's what we're gonna call it. Before we wrap everything up, again, check out Enlisted to play for free on PC, Xbox, or PlayStation. And if you use the link below, you'll get an extra bonus pack to kick off all your play sessions. Once again, thanks to Enlisted for sponsoring this video. Beyond that, if you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it, subscribe if you guys are new, and until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and peace.